It's Bitcoin as we speak today. It's up 9%. So huge jump for cryptocurrencies all across the board. It's had a bit of a pullback earlier in the summer, but it's rebounded since then. Bitcoin has actually recovered all its losses since I would say July. Ethereum has not, though. So I wanted to ask you about sort of the differences between Bitcoin and Ethereum in terms of their performance. In the past, whenever we had a bull cycle in Bitcoin, Ethereum tends to outperform. Hasn't been doing that this summer. Why do you think that is?
Yeah. So I'll give you what I think. I think this, again, is going back to the fundamentals. There are two sides of the story. On the one side, from a Bitcoin evolution perspective, we see that over the last 6 months, it has been in quote unquote a pullback or consolidation mode from a price perspective. But if you look deeper into the ecosystem, there are actually a lot of positive things going on for Bitcoin. There is further de-risking for the network. If you think about the minor exodus from China, which sent a huge wave of shock through Bitcoin ecosystem and further to the whole crypto world in earlier this year, around May-ish, I believe, April or May. That seems to have been over. The Bitcoin network has recovered from that. The hash rate actually got back to almost the all-time high without any third party intervening it. It just naturally go back. That shows the resilience of the network. And then also you see there are a lot of regulatory uncertainty around the crypto space. But Bitcoin is the only, almost quote unquote, the only coin out there that is there's not much regulatory concern or uncertainty, at least in US. Both Fed and SEC came out recently saying that they're not going to ban Bitcoin, and it's truly decentralized. So from that perspective, I think that level of de-risking for Bitcoin continues over the last 5 months, very quietly in the background, which is playing with strength. The other side of the story for Bitcoin is that there also further development of its value proposition as well in the background. We talked about Bitcoin as a store of value playing out in 2020, and that continues to play out this year, right? When you see the monetary policy continues with various jurisdictions, you see the macro economy, and the price actually increases in US as well. People start to feel it. So that still holds. Yeah. At the same time, there's also a money proposition developing for Bitcoin when you see the first sovereign adoption by El Salvador, which followed by a couple of other countries, and most recently including Cuba. That is interesting because that basically opens the door for the much anticipated usage of Bitcoin as the real money, as the unit of account, and as exchange, medium of exchange happening. And then on the technological side, in that same sense, Lightning Network is actually scaling very nicely over the last year, since starting in 2021. So there are a couple of technical KPIs you want to look at for Lightning. You look at the number of nodes, you look at the number of channels, and you also look at the capacity in the channel. All those three metrics, the number of nodes almost doubled since January 2021. The number of channels also almost doubled, actually more than double this year. And then the capacity in the channels reaches about 3,000 BTC most recently. That is, I think, 3 times increase this year. So that speaks to the exponential growth of the Lightning Network as a potential competitor or alternative to Visa, MasterCard, all the legacy payment system that is being built on top of the settlement network, which is the Bitcoin.
I think the platform could compete. Yeah, the platform definitely could compete with Visa, but we'll still need higher adoption rates of Bitcoin. Absolutely. Not everybody has Bitcoin ready to use for their credit purchases. Yeah.
Yeah, but we're seeing that playing out for Bitcoin, and that's why we're seeing it recovering most recently. Then on the other side, when we look at Ethereum to Bitcoin, the trading unit generally has been between, so one Ethereum is generally between 0.1 to 0.3 Bitcoin between end of 2013 to, I would say, March this year. And then when you look at the after March this year, Ethereum started to pick up in its exchange rate to Bitcoin. Sorry, I shouldn't be saying 0.1. It's 0.01 to
Yes.
0.03. Now it's last 6 months. It's between 0.0, I want to say 5 to 0.07, and that was mostly driven by the DeFi rise and NFT rise, which a lot of that happens on Ethereum. But back to your point of why over the last month Ethereum seemed to be underperforming Bitcoin. On the one hand, you see Bitcoin coming out of that quote unquote consolidation period because of all the fundamental positive trends for that. On the other hand, for Ethereum, Ethereum in 2017-18 and even 19 up to summer of 2020 has been the only smart contract platform out there. But starting from end of last year to this year, there have been a couple of emerging alternatives to Ethereum, right? Including Avalanche, including Polygon, including Solana, which is kind of new, and even including Stacks, which is basically a smart contract built on top of Bitcoin. So there are alternatives now, and they're actually solid alternatives. And then also regulatory uncertainty is a little bit higher for Ethereum compared to Bitcoin. So I think there is that playing out as well. So that competitive landscape and the regulatory uncertainty is playing out. When you think about Bitcoin, there's really no alternative. That's the global money network out there, and it has a huge network effect.
Ethereum faces more competition than Bitcoin in their use cases. Okay, that makes sense. So this is a chart that illustrates your point here. I've rebased the 2 series to 100 starting from exactly a year ago, Hong. So you can see that since 12 months ago, Ethereum has still greatly outperformed Bitcoin. Interestingly, like I pointed out earlier, you see the blue line, BTC has recovered from most of its losses early in the summer. Ethereum is still not has not yet peaked its or breached its August highs. So if someone were to say to you, well, I think Ethereum is going to flip Bitcoin in terms of market cap, are you seeing data to support that conclusion? Are you seeing trading volume for Ethereum higher on, let's say, Okcoin, for example?
I don't think that's totally impossible, but over the long term, my personal view is that I have a clearer, I see a clearer path forward for Bitcoin as a whole. Ethereum, there's a lot of upside for Ethereum too, and for all the other alternatives to Ethereum, and particularly when you see GameFi coming up as a real interesting use case in metaverse, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. So I think there are possibilities out there, but we'll see. Yeah.